Hi, I'm Tess Betavino. You may know me from the Only Watch Project, the unique watches charity auction my family's been organizing for almost 2 decades now. I'm here to give you a bit of background on the crazy adventure this project has taken us on since 2001, why we started it, why it had to grow, and what it has allowed us to achieve in terms of research on Duchenne muscular dystrophy and genetic diseases. It all starts with a boy born in 1995, me and my brother Paul. As a toddler, Paul took time to start walking. When trying to run or get up the stairs, sometimes he'd fall, though his parents started to wonder what was wrong. After a series of medical exams and tests and a biopsy that left a big scar on his thigh, the diagnosis came. Paul had Duchenne muscular dystrophy, a rare but not so rare disease that affects one boy in 3,500. As a matter of fact, in Paul's city-state Monaco, there was another boy born the same year with the same disease called Philippe Ferrerol. A diagnosis is information, and with that information came the need for their parents to do something about it. So it all started. In 2001, the parents decided to create a charity organization called the Association Monégasque contre les Myopathies. They traveled around Europe to meet researchers and other parents to understand the status quo on research and therapies. They met with researchers who shared their promising ideas and projects, but also their lack of funding and their need for independence to be able to achieve real progress. So Luc, Paul's father, started working to organize fundraisers around one-of-a-kind concepts with the ambition to advance research on this genetic disease and to find a cure. A short 2 years after their first auctions, the Mona Lisa Project in 2001, Adam and Eve in 2002, they set out to organize roundtables around Duchenne. In collaboration with French researcher Louise Garcia and parent association Duchenne Parent Project France, they invited researchers to Monaco twice a year with the goal to share knowledge and create synergies between the brilliant minds of research on given subjects. The scientific goal was clear from the beginning. The disease was caused by mutations in the gene encoding dystrophin, a protein essential for sustaining muscle integrity. The challenge was to allow for the protein to be created despite the flaw. Funding needs were growing as the community grew bigger and projects became more tangible. So Luc, who had been in the luxury industry for 2 decades as the head of an event called the Monaco Yacht Show, had the idea of only one. An auction of unique luxury pieces and experiences featuring world-class brands and craftsmen and women that had 2 editions in 2003 and 2004. Realizing that the watch market has something special in terms of craftsmanship and desirability, he then came up with the idea for Only Watch, a unique watches auction that he launched in 2005 with 34 watchmakers. The magic of the watchmaking industry coming together for a cause started to do its thing. On the first auction, 1,907,000 euros were raised. Then more than 2 million euros in 2007 and 2009, already setting records in terms of charity fundraising thanks to the generosity of brands, collectors, and all partners working pro bono or at the lowest cost possible. On the research front, thanks to a series of roundtables, information sharing was better, and interesting pathways were identified. And with the new means generated by Only Watch came new ambitions. So in 2006, the association's longtime scientific advisor and coordinator Louise Garcia and parent associations decided to create the ICE initiative for International Collaborative Effort, a program that brought together 15 international teams of researchers, clinicians, and scientists working on therapeutic approaches for Duchenne muscular dystrophy and more particularly on exon skipping, gene, and cell therapies. The following years, Only Watch continued to fund the work of tens of researchers and clinicians around the world. In 2012, it appeared that one of the professors whose research was supported by the association had a very promising lead. He had developed a new class of antisense oligonucleotides, a family of molecules that could be used to somehow rescue mutated mRNAs, thus allowing the missing protein to be produced despite the flaw. Professor Luhmann's chemistry seemed very interesting in terms of efficiency because it could go into the heart and the brain, of agility, it gave the possibility to adapt the treatment to many types of gene alterations, and cost, accessibility being one of the parents' key priorities. The team decided to create Synthena, a biotech located in the University of Bern in Switzerland, dedicated to creating these chemical building blocks of a future therapy. In 2015, still thanks to Only Watch funds, the same group of parents and researchers decided to create a second biotech, called Sky Therapeutics, based on the first elements developed by Synthena, but this time in the Paris region. Their goal: develop therapeutic compounds to reach clinical trials within a few years. The challenge: mastering the non-toxicity of the drug. In 2016, the genesis of this project, Paul left our world at age 21. A few years later, in 2022, Philippe would also pass at age 26. But the Petavino family and the entire ecosystem of Only Watch decided to carry on. For the thousands of boys and families around the world for whom they were doing it, and to honor their son, brother, and friend's legacy. The energy of Paul, Philippe, and the other missing ones is still here, vibrating positively every day to pave the way to therapy. Only Watch became bigger and brighter than what anyone could have ever imagined. World records were broken and tens of millions of euros were raised, allowing the charity to accelerate research even more and make clinical trials reachable. To this day, more than 130 of the most prominent high horology brands and watchmakers have contributed to Only Watch. And the beauty of all this is that 18 years later, the energy is the same as day one: strong, simple, and kind at the same time. In 2022, the French sanitary authorities greenlighted the clinical trial protocol to test the first iteration of a therapy called Sky 51, which would allow exon skipping and thus the production of a functional protein for muscles in Duchenne patients with potentialities for many other genetic diseases. Now what? More than 20 years after the beginning of this story, it's a whole new chapter that lies before us, with the start of first injections for the clinical trials in 2023. If results are positive, Sky Therapeutics will develop new versions of the drug so as to address as many muscle dystrophies as possible. Each new trial will be a lot of work and will necessitate a lot of funds, and will also call for strategic thinking on innovative ways to make therapy as available as possible. If it doesn't work out, or if it's not as positive as we imagined, we'll have to start over, and it's okay. Mount Everest wasn't conquered on the first attempt. Moreover, partnerships with organizations working on other diseases have already been signed and will continue to be developed as the therapy is thought to be able to address many other genetic diseases. And because therapy and care will always be so plural, and because the subject is so wide, Only Watch Funds will continue to fund initiatives, young talent, and brilliant committed minds on topics such as the evolution of heart in Duchenne, new techniques to sample muscle without pain and scars, innovation on mobility aids, and so much more. None of this would have been possible if not for the genuine commitment of tens of men and women who have decided to create beauty to do good on Only Watch over the years. And for the commitment of researchers who create beauty in this world by doing good. Thank you all, and thank you, Paul.